Check, check. Check, check.
I'm sorry. I was just looking at this about the phone. Oh, okay.
Check, check. Check, check. Check. Test check. Check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check. Good. Check. Check. 1, 2. Check, check.
Steve, how are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you, man. Yeah. Steve, hey, good to see you. Okay. Yeah, good to see you. Good start.
Man, dropping the mic already. It's good.
We get our own mics this time.
We're going to get started in a couple of minutes. I'd like everybody to pull out your phone and silence them, please. Please silence your phones. Thank you.
All right.
I could start there. Let me ask one question.
Thank you.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Rotary Club of Peachtree City's Candidate Forum. My name is Will Garner. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Peachtree City, and we're so glad you joined us here tonight. I'd like to let you know that we are live streaming this forum. It'll be available for your viewing on the Rotary Club of Peachtree City YouTube channel. So once again, we're live streaming it now, and it'll be recorded. It'll be available on the Rotary Club of Peachtree City YouTube channel. At this time, I'd like to introduce the president of the Rotary Club of Peachtree City, Javdar.
Thank you, Will. I'm not going to take much of the time. I know that you're excited. And good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Rotary Club of Peachtree City, it is my honor to welcome you to tonight's Candidate Forum. First, a special thanks to our host, Pastor George Dillard, for opening his doors to us and to all of our Rotary members who worked hard to make this evening possible. To our candidates, thank you for stepping forward. Running for office is not easy. It takes courage, sacrifice, and a deep love for community. Your willingness to serve matches perfectly with Rotary's motto, service above self. Tonight, I want to offer two challenges. First one, to our candidates, run fair, respectful campaigns, compete with vision and ideas, but always with honor. Second, to those who are elected, remember that when the election ends, you are no longer opponents, you are teammates. Our city needs leaders who can work together for the good of all. And to our citizens, thank you for being here. Democracy only works when we show up, listen, and take part in the process. With that, welcome once again, and let's have a meaningful and respectful forum. Thank you.
Please join me in welcoming the past president of the Rotary Club of Peachtree City and the current district governor for District 6900 all over the state of Georgia, Mr. Steve Ivory.
Of course, I'm the shortest guy up here, so everybody please rise for a prayer. Gracious God, we thank you for bringing us together this evening in the spirit of community and service. We are grateful for the Rotary Club of Peachtree City and their commitment to fostering dialogue and leadership in our community. Bless each candidate who has offered themselves for public service. Grant them wisdom, clarity, and respect for one another as they share their vision. Bless our citizens gathered here tonight with their attentive minds and discerning hearts as we listen and learn. May this forum be marked by civility, honesty, and a shared desire for the common good. Guide us all to work together for a stronger, more compassionate community. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Let's please face the flag and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. And in Rotary, we do something called the four-way test. It's in the sign behind me somewhere, right behind Mr. Clifton. So we'd like to say, and the things we think, say, and do. 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And in our club, we also say, have fun. So good luck to everybody.
Thank you, Steve. So events like this don't just happen. It takes a lot of planning, it takes a venue, it takes a lot of effort. So please join me in thanking Peachtree City Christian Church and all the Rotarians who made this happen tonight. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that'll be the last time you make any noise this evening during the forum. We would appreciate that. Our candidates would appreciate that. We owe them our undivided attention throughout this event. So this is a forum. It's not a debate. I'll be asking a series of questions. Unless otherwise specified, you'll have 2 minutes to answer the questions. You'll be given a 30-second warning that your time is almost up, and then our timers will give you the stop. I'll certainly allow you to finish a thought or a sentence, but I'm not going to let you start another paragraph. Some of the questions tonight will be for all 6 candidates. Some will be just for our council candidates, and some will just be for our mayoral candidates. So let me introduce our candidates tonight. From running for City Council Post 3, Mr. Joe Campbell and Mr. Clint Holland. For City Council Post 4, Mr. Michael Polacek and Mr. James Clifton. And our mayoral candidates, Mr. Steve Brown and Ms. So sorry, Mayor, Ms. Kim Learnard. We'll begin with opening comments. You'll have 90 seconds in which to tell us who you are and why you're running. We'll begin with Post 3, Mr. Holland.
I drew the short straw again. I'm first in line. Hey, look, first of all, let me thank the Reverend George Dillard for allowing us in his beautiful church here. So thank you, George. Very much appreciated. I think you all know that I'm Clint Holland. You can tell by my accent I am not from Georgia, but this is my forever home. I moved here probably, 14 years ago into Georgia, and I'm still here. My background, a little bit about me, because we'll get into what I'm for and what I'm against a little later, but about me, I'm an engineer. I got multiple engineering degrees, a bachelor's and a doctorate in engineering. I've also got a master's in economic and marketing. I've run businesses my entire adult life, large businesses and small, and some of my own. But currently, what am I doing? I'm the mayor pro tem here in the city. I'm the vice chair of the Peachtree City Water and Sewer Authority. I am the vice chair for the Eastern District for U.S. Congressman Brian Jack. I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus here in Peachtree City, and I'm also a veteran. So I am a member of Post 50 here in the city. And last but not least, I am a member and I help out every Sunday at our church at Holy Trinity Catholic Church. Is that my 90 seconds? Close. Okay. Thank you.
And you're there. Thank you. Mr. Campbell.
Yes, my name is Joe Campbell. My wife and I moved to Peachtree City back in 2018 with our 2 sons. My oldest son graduated from McIntosh and is now a student at Kennesaw State, and my youngest son is a 6th grader at Booth, where I've already had a couple times to volunteer there. Not long after we moved here, my wife's parents came to visit us and fell in love with Peachtree City just like we did, and decided to build a house in Crestwind. So I'm very happy and proud to say that 3 generations of my family now call Peachtree City home. Before moving here, I spent 28 years with the Walt Disney Company. I started out as a bellman and worked myself up to managing operations for multi-million-dollar hotels. I spent some time with labor relations where I helped mitigate discrepancies between the union and the company. And then I spent the last 10 years there working on the team that designed and built hotels worldwide. This gave me exposure to international business. This helped me develop infrastructure and help me implement that infrastructure. And I just think I bring the experience from all of that to be able to serve you efficiently and effectively on City Council. Thanks to the Rotary for having us here tonight.
Thank you. Post 4, Mr. Clifton.
Thank you. My name is James Clifton. I am a lifelong resident of Fayette County. When my wife Whitney and I decided to settle down and start a family, we always knew that Peachtree City would be the place that we called home. It provides a quality of life you can't find anywhere else. It has great jobs, it has great schools, it's safe, there's great amenities and recreation. The golf cart paths are the crown jewel. My kids love riding on the golf cart paths. We stop at every single playground throughout Peachtree City, and we play at every single one of them. Over the last decade or so, though, there have been a series of poor planning decisions that have started to erode at that quality of life. And that concerns me, and that's why I make 5 campaign commitments to you. First, I want to restrict high-density housing. Second, I want to reduce the budget and cut taxes. Third, I want to alleviate traffic. Fourth, I want a more open and transparent government. And fifth, I want to stop annexing additional residential property into Peachtree City. And I want to stop rezoning commercial and industrial property to residential in Peachtree City. And those are my campaign commitments to you. I want to see Peachtree City get back on track. That's why our website is ptcbackontrack.com, where you can check out a whole lot more information about the campaign. Thank you.
Thank you. And our mayoral candidates, Ms. Learnard. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my first mistake of the night. I'm so sorry. And also from Post 4, Mr. Polacek.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Michael Polacek, and I also want to thank the Rotary and the church for putting this on. I'm a homeowner, married to a small business owner, and have 2 young children, and this is my hometown. I have a background in public budgeting, and after some years, worked my way up to senior leadership positions under the Kemp administration. But none of that would have been possible without this community. You see, in 1985, my parents escaped communist Czechoslovakia for a better life for me and my sister. They actually wanted to escape when my mom first got married, but after my mom learned she was pregnant, we're forced to wait 5 more years so my sister could literally run with a backpack across the border into Western Europe. They ultimately immigrated to Atlanta with only $100 in a suitcase of clothes and eventually settled here in Peachtree City. Their commitment to a better life was grounded in hard work, education, and integrity, same values I strive by today. I grew up attending local schools and worked my first job at Partners Pizza. Today I ride the same cart paths I get to explore with my kids. My wife Erin and I moved back to raise our kids because we do believe this is the best place to live and raise a family. And that's why I'm running, to preserve what makes Peachtree City so special and ensure it remains attractive for the next generation of families. Throughout the forum tonight, I plan to show how hometown perspective, mixed with nearly a decade of conservative budget writing and policymaking experience, will continue to make Peachtree City one of the best places to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mayor.
Thank you, Will. And welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to see this kind of turnout. What a great community event. Special thanks to the Rotary for putting this on. Somebody asked me tonight, are you nervous, Kim? No, I'm not nervous. I have 4 years. I can't wait to tell you about my track record of success. So I'm going to be covering a lot of issues and sticking to a lot of facts. I can't wait to have this discussion. But first, I have an announcement that I'm delighted to share that our city's founding father, Joel Joel Cowan, today announced that he is endorsing my campaign for mayor of Peachtree City. In addition to Joel Cowan endorsing my campaign, our third mayor, Chip Connor, and former mayors Bob Lennox and Harold Logston have also announced that they're endorsing my campaign. And the reason is because my vision for Peachtree City's future aligns exactly with the original founders. My emphasis on preservation of green space, on revitalizing our villages, and so much more. So tonight, my opponent has a big job. He has to convince you that 4 years of expanded paths, of industry expansions, of village revitalization, of family and community events, extended library hours, night markets, sunset sounds, back to school bash, and so much more is a bad thing. Good luck. Let's have a good evening, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
You have a choice. If you love government that shuts citizens out, Kim is your choice. That's restriction. She's restricted public input and kept council members from even placing items on a meeting agenda. If you think gridlock on Highway 54 is just part of the city's charm, vote for Kim. She signed off on the budget-constrained 7454 DOT project that solves none of the problems. She rezoned prime corporate land to cost-prohibitive residential zoning. And if you think paying for neglected maintenance failures with a once-in-a-lifetime federal grant meant for a new fire station is smart governance, Kim is your choice. Fire protection be damned. If you think excess cash reserves should be used for a mayoral slush fund rather than tax relief for homeowners and businesses, Kim's got you covered. She has also been caught violating the Georgia Open Meetings and Records Acts with administrative variances. If you think 4 city managers in 4 years screams teamwork, then Kim's your revolving door to your dream come true. She's held the annual public retreat all the way over in Gwinnett County just to keep you in the dark. And if you're wondering why every pro-multifamily complex candidate backed by Kim and the local developer pack keeps losing, maybe it's because the citizens don't want it. If you're wondering where I stand on all these issues, it's the antithesis of what she's doing right now. Go to our website, www.ptcbackontrack.com. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this first question is for our city council candidates. The city recently hired an economic development manager. What are your priorities related to economic development, and how will you engage with, support, and direct the economic development manager? Let me read that again as you gather your thoughts. The city recently hired an economic development manager. What are your priorities related to economic development, and how will you engage with, support, and direct the economic development manager? We'll start at post 4. Mr. Polacek.
Thank you for the question. I've seen this community thrive since 1995, since my parents moved here, and it's changed a lot since then. I think there's been some questionable changes, but there's been some opportunities for improvement. As we look forward, the conversation is going to be around redevelopment, and there's going to have to be responsible decisions that City Council makes to ensure that we preserve the character of Peachtree City in these decisions. I support businesses getting the most out of their property, but I will not support rezoning industrial or commercial land. I think it's also important to make the process faster and more efficient to start a business here, and possibly partnering. And this is one opportunity I see with our new Director of Economic Development, partnering with Launch Fayette, which recently started this past month. There's an opportunity for common sense variances that attract more businesses without rezoning their property. And these should always be assessed on a case-by-case basis. But a blanket no to every single opportunity isn't the vision. There has to be responsible assessment of each opportunity and project. I also fully support landowners having the right to approach City Council about variances, but I'm happy to shut down anything that isn't good for the city. I think in partnership with our new Director of Economic Development, we have a bright future ahead, and I plan to be a voice for common sense when it comes to projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clifton.
Yeah, so in Peachtree City, we actually now have almost 2 million square feet of vacant commercial space. I think that is a priority we need to make sure that we are addressing. because if the commercial space stays vacant for too long, the next step is foreclosure. And foreclosure brings down our property values, brings down our tax base, and I think that is the most critical issue that we're facing in regards to economic development. After that, I've actually spoken with the economic development director about his efforts to make sure some of those places are filled, and he tells me he is working on that. So I hope to see that happen. The biggest issue that I see is that if those places remain vacant, we're going to see a push to convert a lot of that commercial space into mixed-use developments with stacked housing on top. I am absolutely 100% against high-density housing in any form. We are an overcrowded city as it is. The overcrowding caused by those mixed-use developments will only make traffic worse. It will only accelerate crime. And when those things happen, those are things that I'm committed to making sure that they go away here in Peachtree City or reduced. So those would be my main priorities for economic development.
Thank you. Post 3, Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, first, if you haven't had a chance to meet Blue Cole, you should. The guy is incredibly smart, and I think he's going to have some great ideas coming into the city. He's the economic developer guy. For me, it's about small business. When our founders started this city and that whole village concept, small business was at the core of that, and these little village centers. And I think we need to find a way to, one, help them get their businesses open a little easier, because I've spent some time, especially in the last 2 weeks, talking to quite a few, and the message is the same over and over and over. It is tough to get things done in the permitting office. It's tough to get past that so you can get your business going. And I think we got to find a way to streamline that, make it a little easier for them to get started. And once they're going, we need to support them. We have opportunity in other areas to promote economic growth as well, and I'd love to talk that over with Mr. Cole. One of them, and I happen to be lucky, I'm serving on the board for the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and just in the last 2 years, they've been able to increase the amount of hotel rooms being sold tenfold each year in the last 2 years. That's money coming into the city that we desperately can use. We have some opportunity, I think Mr. Clifton talked about it, filling some of these vacancies, buildings. We don't just need to fill them, we need to revitalize them, though. We need to make them look good so people are wanting to come in there. But I'm really behind supporting our small businesses, because I think it takes us back to the core when this city got started.
Thank you. Mr. Holland.
Well, thank you very much. I've known Blue Cole. I love that name, Blue Cole. He was the mayor over in Sharpsburg when I first met him, and he and I were on a committee at the Georgia Municipal Association for Member Services. We got to be very good friends. Now he's on our team. He left being a mayor, and he's on our team. I'll tell you what an exciting opportunity it was to have him sit and actually have a discussion about what is the future of economic development in this city. And you know what he said? Industrial development. Industrial development in this city brings in the best amount of taxes with a minimum amount of services needed. So the more industrial you have in this city, whether it's light, we certainly don't want oil refineries and steel mills here, but we do want to have light industrial stuff that employs people, pays taxes, and doesn't take away the services that we use for all the homeowners in this whole city. We need you to be protected. We need you to have fire. We need you to have EMS and all the other services that we provide. Not a business. A business is there to make money and to pay taxes. And agree, small business is what this city was built on. Yes, we have some big businesses, but I'm in support of the small businesses too, and that's one of the reasons why I've been fighting quite successfully as of last Thursday to get a lower tax rate, not only for the residents, but also for the businesses here in this city. I've gotten more kudos from the business side saying, go Clint, go. Get us some tax saving. We may be able to expand in this city. We may be able to hire more people in this city. That's where I stand on economic development. We'll be looking at industrial properties going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is for all 6 candidates. I think we can all agree a funding priority for the city would be our public safety, police, fire, EMS, all in agreement with that. All right. Having said that, what would you consider your funding priorities after public safety? Aside from public safety, what would be your top 2 or 3, 4 funding priorities during your term in office? Once again, aside from public safety, what would be your top 2, 3, 4 funding priorities during your term? We'll begin with our mayoral candidates. Mr. Brown.
Well, you've got to start working on that economic development question, or you're never going to have a sustainable budget in future years. We've given away all the corporate headquarters and light industrial land. All that land up McDuff Parkway was supposed to be light industrial corporate headquarters. Those developments would have offset all our residential taxes in future years. That's gone. So in order to have a sustainable budget, we've got to build more efficiency in our budget. We've got to look at ways to eliminate duplication. We've got to look at better ways to use technology to make the budget work faster and better. We're in big trouble because we've given away all of our future opportunities. A house has to be $650,000 in order for it to break even. When you build thousands of homes up McDuff Parkway and none of them are $650,000, you're in big trouble because every one of you are paying for it. So on economic development, I'm the only one that's certified in economic development up here in the stage. I'm the only one that's won economic development awards from the state of Georgia Economic Department. I pulled in the largest employer in the Fayette County. Budget priorities, first of all, we've got to get the budget where it needs to be before we decide what the budget priorities are. We've got way too much money in contingency funds that just get spent at the end of the year for no accountable reason. That's a problem. We've got to make sure that if we're going to build recreation facilities, that we have the ability to maintain those recreation facilities. That goes hand in hand with the construction. And right now, we're paying off maintenance with once-in-a-lifetime fee with a grant that we got from the federal government through the pandemic that was meant for a fire station, and we're using it to pay maintenance. That tells you we don't have the appropriate level of maintenance funding in our budget. If you can't fund the maintenance, don't build the new facilities. Get the budget under control and then figure it out.
Ms. Learnard?
I know you said we need to move on from public safety, but it is one of our citizens' #1 priorities, so I'm going to springboard from public safety. I want to tell you that when I took office, first of all, we are top 10 safest cities in Georgia. When I took office, we were grossly understaffed in our police department, so we underwent a comprehensive pay and benefit study and learned that if we want to attract new police officers, we better start paying them more. So we bumped up their pay, and guess what happened? We have fully staffed our police department. And guess what happens when you fully staff your police department? Our Part 1 crimes have dropped 25% from first quarter 2024 to the end of first quarter 2025. In addition, we are now partnering with the school system to place a school resource officer in every elementary school. We already have them in the high schools. We already have them in the middle schools. Now, we love Officer Smiley. We all know Officer Smiley. But he's going to be, I think, at Oak Grove, and we will have a new officer in every one of our elementary schools. In addition, we purchased the gun range. Remember, Big Shots went up for sale. Peachtree City purchased it, and we're going to be converting it into an emergency operations center that will serve the entire region. And I know you're going to laugh at me for this, but if the federal government passes what's called their regular budget, and the budget year ends September 30th, just like it does in Peachtree City, if the feds pass their regular budget, we stand to gain a $1.172 million grant to build out that emergency operations center. And that's thanks to the good partnerships that I keep with our federal representatives. So we're doing awesome on public safety. 47% of our budget is public safety. Our fiscal year 26 budget includes 3 new firefighters in anticipation of the new fire station we are building starting right away on the south side where the old animal shelter used to be.
Thank you. Post 3, Mr. Holland.
The question you asked, if I understand it right, was beyond safety and beyond all of the other things for safety, and you don't want us to talk about that. Did I just hear you correctly on that? What is your next step of spending, was
well,
the question.
The real question is, we all believe that public safety is our #1 funding priority.
Correct.
What would be your other funding priority?
That's what I thought you said, and we're hearing all about public safety. I'm all for public safety. Believe me, I am. I voted for it too. They definitely got what they deserved for the police, the fire, and the EMS. But the question is, what are you going to do next? Here's my ideas on what are we going to do next. I certainly want to put some money aside, either from our budget or from our reserve fund, for maintenance. We have old facilities all over the city that need maintenance. They need upkeep. If we don't do it, guess what? It waits till next year, and then it waits till next year, and it never gets done. Let's do it. Let's keep those up, because those are pride and joy for this city, and we want to have them up to speed maintenance-wise. That's #1. #2, I'm all about safety just like everybody else on this, but I'm also here for our children's safety when they go from McIntosh over to Booth School. When they go across that Highway 54, they got to go at grade. That means they're crossing over a high-speed road. We need a bridge over that, and I've been working on that in City Council, where we should be probably about a year away from having it done, where they can go across from Booth Middle School to McIntosh. The third thing, if I can get it in the last 30 seconds, is I'm a veteran, and I want to honor those veterans who were before me, who gave everything to the city in this United States, with a memorial at the old community garden. We've talked about it on council, and I think we're going to have it in the next budget, or we will be able to hopefully take some type of memorial money out of the reserve fund to make this happen.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, so I'm going to take us back to our founding fathers. Recreation was a big deal for that, not only the multi-use paths, but being able to provide opportunities for our residents to experience recreation. I would probably take a bigger step and try to make that multi-generational. Had a great conversation with my teenage son a couple weeks ago, and he told me, Dad, when I was in high school here, even after graduating, there wasn't a lot for me to do. We'd go over to Battery Park, we'd go to Target and walk around, and we'd go to Walmart and walk around, and that was what we did. And then, my wife's mother likes to spend time with my youngest son, and kind of reiterated the same thing. There's not a lot for that age, our seniors, to get involved with in the city, and I'd like to see our recreation officers expanded into that. My father-in-law is a veteran as well, and I brought up this, hey, what do you think about having a memorial to veterans? And he's like, that's nice, but it doesn't do anything for me. He said, if you really wanted to help veterans, we try to find a way to open a VA office locally. I know we have one on the way to Noonan. It's really great. But he said, if you really wanted to help a veteran, you'd provide services that a VA office would provide. I think I'd like to see an expanded citywide traffic survey done, so we don't focus all of our attention in one area, because when you do that, the problems tend to spread out. So we do a citywide traffic survey. We find out where the other pinch points are, and we attack those. We can do a lot of that locally. We don't have to wait for a state approval to do some of this stuff. And maintenance, it would be a good thing to attack as well, but you have to understand, when you're going to provide regular maintenance, that's an ongoing cost, and so we have to amend our budget to be able to accommodate that. So that has to be, and when you do that, that means you're adding headcount and you're adding cost to a budget. And how do you pay for that? It's good to say we can add it, but we got to pay for it, and we got to find out ways to do that if we're going to do that. And that's it. I think it takes us back to our original founders' insight, and we expand from there.
Very good. Thank you. Post forum, Mr. Clifton.
Yeah, so my biggest priority with the budget is cutting it. Whether you're a flight attendant or a physician, or you're a senior citizen or a single mother, you have worked hard for every dollar you have made. And every tax dollar that our city spends that you worked hard for, we need to take a tough look at before we spend it. Prioritizing that spending will be on maintenance of our existing infrastructure, especially our cart paths. There's a lot of areas of our cart paths that need work. We need to replace the bubble at the Kedron Aquatic Center. The Kedron Hockey Center needs to be repaired. We need bathrooms at Battery Way Park. We need bathrooms at Line Creek Nature Area. If you ever have a family and you're out there and you have a potty emergency, you know what I'm talking about. It's pretty difficult to find a place where those things can be accommodated. And I think this is where you'll see a lot of distinction between myself and my opponent. My opponent says he's a fiscal conservative, but if you look closely at his campaign platform, he has promised to the citizens of Peachtree City a yard debris removal service funded by the taxpayers. When I read that, I immediately went to the experts in waste removal. I said, what would be the cost to provide a city-funded yard debris removal service? The cheapest estimate I got was $1 million per year. There's nothing fiscally conservative about proposing additional services that cost $1 million a year. He also sits on the Recreation Advisory Group. The Recreation Advisory Group is responsible for seeing the enactment of the Recreation Master Plan. The Recreation Master Plan, if you don't know what it is a 50-plus, it has 50-plus projects, recreation projects, that the Recreation Master Plan wants to see it completed. I again went to the experts and asked, what would be the estimate to complete this Recreation Master Plan? And it was $104.1 million. There's nothing fiscally conservative about that.
Mr. Polacek.
Thank you. As someone who actually has experience writing public budgets, there's always a responsible and efficient way in handling your tax dollars. Literally is what I did every day at the state capitol. I had a portfolio of $3 billion in state agencies. Every single day, we had to prioritize what was important to that agency, work with the priorities of the legislature, work with the priorities of advocacy groups, talk with different stakeholders, and fund responsibly. This is also in a climate where our governor successfully was able to cut taxes, give teacher raises, and move Georgia forward. That's something I'm proud to champion, and it takes a budget mind to understand how, one, it's fun to say I can cut taxes, but how am I going to fund all these fun projects that are good campaign promises? Actually understanding what it's like to balance a budget, identify waste, and cut it is an important skill that we need on city council. I'm proud to be on the recreation board. Since I've seen this community thrive since I was a kid, we have come a long way when it comes to recreation. As someone who's an active participant, I just had a soccer game 2 days ago at Pack Fields. All my kids are participants. I'm proud of the quality of fields that we have. When friends visit Peachtree City, the first thing they say is how amazing our cart pass system is. We must continue to protect this. And on public safety, an important component of that is the EMS. I've lived in communities and I have friends who are aging who live in other communities without EMS, and it takes 3 minutes longer on average, from what I assessed during my time at Public Health, for an ambulance to get to their house. That is a priority I want to continue to fund and expand on. And it's also important that we look how we can leverage public-private partnerships that generate revenue for the city. So if we're talking about cutting taxes, that's a fun campaign promise. How are we going to bring more revenue and reduce your tax burden? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This next question is for our mayoral candidates. How you lead, your economic priorities, your policies, the programs that you advocate will have an impact on our city long after your term is over. Share with us, what is your vision for Peachtree City 5, 8, 10 years from now? Ms. Learnard.
First of all, it's important to note that Peachtree City is built out. We're built out. And so now my focus is on preservation. I feel maternal about Peachtree City, about taking care of her, about fiercely protecting all that we cherish about our dear city. And that starts and ends with our green spaces. I will continue to protect our green spaces. On my watch, we hired a new position of full-time certified arborist, and we earned Tree City USA status for the first time in decades. Another priority is our paths, and we've established a brand new transportation Transportation Advisory Group for citizen input on roads, paths, and all things safety. Economic development, oh my gosh, I have an engineering background, a strong industry and manufacturing and robotics experience, so I've been delighted to see our industries expand. That's going to keep our industrial tax base growing. On my watch, we've welcomed Southern Crescent Technical College and Clayton State University to the former Booth Middle School location, and those partnerships between business, government, and education are where communities truly thrive. On my watch, we're seeing, first of all, I turned away apartments at the Kmart space twice. Now you know why it sat empty for 5 years. It was Kimco, and they showed me a beautiful schematic of apartments, and I said, you see that door? You go out that door, turn around, and come back in and try again. And they did. They brought in a beautiful schematic 3 months later of townhomes. And I said, you see that door? Now we have Ace Pickleball in the space, and I couldn't be more excited. And in the next few days, we will have an announcement about another brand new, exciting family-oriented business that's going in the second half of the Kmart space. We see Trader Joe's coming in. Yes, we see J. Alexander's coming into the Smoky Bone space. Family-owned B. Turner's is now in the Steinmart space. Willow Bend Shopping Center is reinventing itself and pouring millions of dollars in to revitalize that village, and I have more to share.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Right, I agree with the multifamily housing. We don't need to do it. The mayor has passed several condominium complexes, and if you follow Blackstone, BlackRock, Brownstone, BlackRock, all those people, all the big funds, they're buying all the condominiums and townhomes and turning them into rental properties. They're the new apartments. One of the condos that she approved was for a campaign contributor, and she didn't disclose that there was a campaign contributor, and she didn't recuse herself either. In terms of future economic development, one thing we've got to do is we've got to fix the traffic problem. If you don't fix 7454, we're in trouble. And that project, I spoke to the engineer from DOT personally. I did an interview with him as part of the Citizen newspaper. That interview is on my website. You can look at it. I printed all his answers verbatim. That is not going to do a single thing for east-west traffic, which is the core problem at that intersection, is east-west traffic flow. It won't do anything for that. They know that. I asked them, are you doing that project because you had money left over from another project and you're just planning it to the small budget that you have? He looked at me, paused 4 seconds, looked at me and said, yes, sir, it's a budget-constrained project. They're just giving us a lot of dog and pony stuff. It's all smoke and mirrors. That project does absolutely nothing for east-west traffic. If we can't fix that, we're in trouble. There has not been an elected official in the history of Fayette County who's pulled more state and federal highway money into this city, 74 South, 54 West. I did the interchange in Fulton County at I-78, I-85 and 74. They said, you can't do that. It's not even in your county. I got it, $81 million project, federal and state funding. We'd better have somebody that can pull in some money and fix the traffic, or we're not going to have a future. People are going to move out because they can't stand it. And let me tell you, I can't go to a single group today where that's not the number one complaint, is the growing traffic.
Thank you, sir. This next question is for our council candidates. What factors would you consider, what factors carry the most weight when you're reviewing a request for city annexation? Once again, what factors would you consider, what factors carry the most weight in reviewing a request for city annexation? We'll start at post 4, Mr. Polacek.
Thank you for the question. Annexation is a tough topic because we have to look first. What we need is actually updated annexation data. That is something I would look into, is actually seeing a study so we know. I believe that the last report was updated 10, 15 years ago. That doesn't sound like common sense to me. If I'm on city council, I need relevant facts, data, and statistics so we can actually have the conversation about annexation. But I'm mindful of that conversation, and I'm very cautious about it. And one of the main issues is the strain it can have on city services. We have to look at what type of development is coming, what are opportunities for industrial commercial annexation, and very cautious about residential annexation. it is important that we look at, is it bringing revenue into the city, or is it going to be a strain on our city services? And that's the most important factor that I'll assess. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clifton?
Yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, I do not support annexation of any residential property whatsoever. If we're going to annex additional property into Peachtree City, it needs to be tax revenue positive, industrial, or commercial property. We need the business commitment from that particular corporation before we even begin the annexation process, before I would even consider annexing any additional property. If we continue to annex additional residential property, it is just going to continue to strain our safety and essential services and our first responders. That's the number one, as other people have mentioned, it's the number one cost in our budget, and it is important to us. And so if we continue to annex additional residential property, it takes away from those services. We have to build additional fire stations. That's expensive. We have to staff those fire stations. That's expensive. We have to provide equipment to those fire stations, and we have to maintain those fire stations. All those things are incredibly expensive. And if we're going to have fiscal responsibility and conservative fiscal policies, then annexing additional residential property is not going to be part of that.
Thank you. Post 3, Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, for me, I need to understand what we're annexing it for. I know I don't think residential is going to service, to be honest with you, because I think we are going to put too big of a strain on our schools and our infrastructure if we try to bring any more residential entities into the city. Industrial sounds great, but usually that's lured with tax breaks and corporate welfare. And so the tax revenue you get or you think you're going to get may not be as big as you wish it would be. Honestly, and this is probably sounds a little far-fetched, if I were to entertain anything with annexing in the city around the borders, I would do it to create a border around Peachtree City. I would make it green space. Does it cost anything to have that? I know it doesn't generate revenue, but it doesn't cost anything either. And I think that's how we kind of preserve the bubble, so to speak, of Peachtree City, if we do any annexing at all. It wasn't originally, the plan was you don't do that if it's going to mess with the borders of the city. If you try to look at what the border of the city looks like, it's all over the place. But if it were me, if I were to entertain anything annexing in the city, I'd do it to build a green belt around us.
Thank you. Mr. Holland?
I'd have to disagree with you that, Mr. Campbell, that buying land, even on the outskirts of our beautiful city, you're looking at per acre, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars. Try to encircle the city that way. We don't have that kind of money to go and buy that kind of land. But let's get back to the question. I'm involved with the Fayette County Development Authority. I go to every meeting, every month, and listen to what they say. These are the people who look for the whole county on what do we do for business development. And the number one thing they say about Peachtree City is people want to move here. People want to put a building up. They want to put their business in Peachtree City because of the standard of living, the quality of life, the schools, and all of those things. But Peachtree City doesn't have any land. No available land to put 50 acres of a corporate center, or maybe 100 acres if it's going to be a big manufacturing company. We don't have land. So that brings us to the issue of annexation. And I've spoken about this numerous times. We need to annex land on the industrial side because we have people waiting to come into our city. The taxes they would bring, yes, we may have to do some tax abatement for a short period of time. But they're not going to build a business here and then move out in 2 years. They're going to build a business that's going to be here for years and years and years. We may have to give them a little incentive to get here, but once they're in, they're going to love it, they're going to stay, and the future looks bright for tax-based income coming from these industrial places all around the city, and look to the south side of the city for annexation, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm adjusting my questions a little bit. I want to talk more about economic development. So this question's for all 6 candidates. You know, I've already heard y'all talk about economic development several times. So what would you do specifics? Let's get a little more specific on how would you attract and retain larger companies and smaller businesses and their employees. Once again, what would you do? Let's talk specifics for economic development. How would you attract and retain larger businesses and smaller businesses and their employees in our city? We'll start post 3, Mr. Holland.
I'm up again. I just talked about this, but I'll expand on it because I think it's quite important for the future of our city. We need to have more industrial base. Let me state that again. We need to have more industrial base because they pay taxes and they don't require the kinds of services you get with residential housing, even for commercial. There's more for the industrial. So what do I do to attract them? Obviously, land would be number one. You got to have space for them. You got to have 50 acres, 100 acres. We got a lot of 5-acre lots, but they only can put a small building up on 5-acre lots. We need bigger pieces of land, and we can get those around Fayette County. How do we keep them here once we attract them? We attract them by doing maybe some short-term tax help. So maybe some employee payment. So you hire our local employees, we pay a certain amount of that for a couple of years. We can do those kinds of things. But how do you retain them once they're here? Well, you retain them because the same reason why all of you are here. This is a great city. It's a fantastic city. We got great cost of living here. We've got just living here is a great thing for all of us. We don't want to move anywhere else. You talk to most of the people in this room. No one wants to move. They all want to stay here. Don't you think once you get a business manager coming in here going, oh my God, what a place you've got here at Peachtree City. I want my kids to go to school here. I want to put roots down here. I don't want to just pull up after my tax abatement has gone away and move to another city. I found a home, just like all of us did. I came here, and this was my forever home for my wife, Ann, and I.
Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to do that is just to show the quality of life we have here in Peachtree City. Anybody, and I have friends that still come up from Florida to visit me, and they as soon as they get in here, they're like, this place is amazing. And when you know that, because no matter which direction you head out of our city, whether it's towards Noonan or Fayetteville or even north, you know the minute you leave Peachtree City. And so, yeah, it's really something somebody wants to come to, and we can bring a lot of business in, I think, just simply by highlighting that. You talk about being one of the safest cities in Georgia. You talk about nationally ranked schools. I mean, there is so much to love about this city. I think it's probably easy to pull in industry. We do have to find space for it. My only concern and my caution about it is, right now, 70% of the people who work in Peachtree City don't live in Peachtree City. And if you bring in more large industrial complexes like that, you increase the traffic. And traffic's an issue already. You know, we've talked about it already a couple times. And so that has to be a consideration no matter who we bring into this city economically, for whatever reason. You got to know that traffic's going to get worse. And there is no one fix to our traffic issue. There's got to be multiple things that do that. But to me, Peachtree City sells itself. I think it would be easy to pull industry in. We just got to find space for it, and then we got to be mindful that we're going to probably impact our traffic.
Thank you. Post 4, Mr. Clifton.
Yeah, so I kind of want to elaborate on the annexation question with this as well. We need to attract those businesses to Peachtree City to fill that 2 million square feet of vacant commercial space we have. We need a big company like NCR to come in and fill those shoes. That brings a lot of good jobs to Peachtree City. Hella is another corporation that is now sitting empty, and that's a 100,000 square foot facility that we need filled. And we attract businesses like that to Peachtree City by showing them we're a business-friendly city. We have favorable taxes because we don't spend recklessly. We have good schools for their employees' children to go to. 10 years ago, we had three or four elementary schools in the top 25 in the state. U.S. News and World Report just came out with their top 25 schools in Georgia. We only have one. People look at that. when they decide to relocate. And one of the reasons that's happening is because we're dealing with overcrowding issues, because we're overbuilding residential property, and we need to bring that under control. And so, like I said, to elaborate on the annexation issue, I don't want to annex any property until we get our existing commercial infrastructure filled, because it needs to be filled. It helps bring up the tax base, and that's critical for our city's functioning.
Thank you. Mr. Polacek.
Thank you for the question. As someone who's married to a small business owner, I've seen the challenges that it can take to start a business here. We need to find ways to make it cheaper and more efficient for small businesses to start. I love that we had a conversation about the new director of economic development. There's opportunities here. I also mentioned the recently created Launch Fayette, and there's opportunities in finding ways and solutions to ensure that small businesses remain the root of our community here. As we look at corporate, NCR left. They left this community. And they could have left during COVID, but thankfully folks were working from home. They were able to keep that corporate office open. They opened another office during COVID downtown. We have to have the reality check of looking forward and having a vision for Peachtree City that remains attractive for workers to want to live here and work here. And that is the foundation of my campaign. There's a fine balance between preserving Peachtree City, but ensuring that we remain the best community I know it is. I know that my hometown is, and the reason I moved back here, and find ways that we can continue to redevelop, continue to enhance our recreation, like some of the other candidates mentioned, continue to make public safety a priority, but we must continue to attract the next generation of families if Peachtree City has a chance to attract the next corporate office. And that's an actual solution we can work towards together. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Learnard.
I obviously support economic development. I worked for the Georgia Department of Economic Development for 10 years, and my background is manufacturing coupled with a master's degree in adult education. I was the vice president for institutional advancement at West Georgia Tech for several years before I retired. And again, those are critical connections to keep our industries thriving and balance our tax base. I'm gonna segue into traffic because we're hearing so much about traffic, and I know it is your number one concern, and it is my number one concern. And I'm just going to point out very briefly that when my opponent was mayor more than 20 years ago, he stopped a planned connection that would have been an alternate east-west artery to Highway 54. It was called the TDK extension. And I'm not even disagreeing. I'll surprise you out by saying I'm not even disagreeing with that decision, but you cannot stop there. And in the last 22 years, we have not seen my opponent, the journalism major, making any other east-west arteries as an alternate to Highway 54. He stopped and said, gee, good thing we almost had all that Coweta traffic coming into our city. Well, now we have all that Coweta traffic coming into our city on one available artery, and that's Highway 54. I will tell you also, the next time you're sitting at those miserable traffic lights, West 54, it was my opponent who identified and recommended every one of those 6 traffic lights on the west side of Highway 54 in a document called 54 West Corridor Study. It was dated 2001, and I have that document with me here tonight in case you want to see it. Economic development is about attracting families and businesses, and the best way we can continue to do that is to support our economic development manager, keep our good relationships with Fayette County Development Authority, and welcome these families and businesses to our quality of life.
Thank you. Mr. Brown.
Good, let's keep it honest. I didn't do the TDK extension because they were going to build residential population equivalent to Tyrone, Fayetteville, and Fairburn combined on the other side of our border. All of that traffic would have gone up TDK and up 74 North. So if you think we got problems at that intersection now, you just do that project. And she actually passed a resolution saying she didn't want to build the TDK extension. So you can thank me afterwards. Now, the study she's talking about on the 54 West Corridor is done under Bob Lennox's administration. That was prior to my administration. So let's make sure we got our facts right, okay? Now, the first thing about economic development is you got to know how the system works. It doesn't go through Peachtree City. It's the state and the utilities who do the economic development work. They go through the Fayette County Development Authority. The Fayette County Development Authority then works with us if they need incentives or something to sweeten the deal. But it doesn't go through Peachtree City. It doesn't originate with Peachtree City. One of the odd cases was the movie studio at Trilith. I was the only government official involved in that deal for 2 years. And that was an odd deal because we just happened to have a local billionaire who lived down the street, and they needed 50% domestic investment in that project. He came up with the money. So we worked on that project, and we got one of the largest employers out there, and we got a film academy as well to help with our students who want to go into that industry. But the problem is, if you don't understand how the process works, you're never going to get it. And I know those people. I've worked with those people. I'm certified through those people, and I have the deals to prove it. So, if you want to bring up some things, and, I didn't do anything after the TDK extension. You know why? I didn't get reelected. And you know why I didn't get reelected? Because Harold Logston ran on building the TDK extension.
Thank you, sir. Quiet, please. Thank you, no. I'll thank you in advance for not doing that again. Timekeepers, this next question, we're going to go up to 3 minutes each. The clock is looking good in the back, so we're going to go 3 minutes to answer this question. The city's budget has been in the news recently. I'm not necessarily looking for numbers, but I want you to talk about the budget process. Tell us, what are your thoughts, ideas, recommended changes for the process of how we develop the budget? How will you work with the city manager, the city staff, and the other members of the council in developing and passing next year's budget? So I'm looking for your thoughts, ideas, and everything about the budget process for the city. We're going to begin with post 4, Mr. Clifton.
Yeah, so over the last month, when the budget became a hot button issue, our council was able to reduce the budget by $550,000. Imagine if they put that kind of effort into reducing the budget year round. Could we make it 12 times that? I think that there's room for improvement. I've never seen a government budget that doesn't have incredible amount of fluff and unnecessary expenditures in it. I want to use my expertise and my background in property tax to go after that budget and find all the parts that we can cut so that as much taxpayer money stays in your pocket. We haven't had a meaningful millage rate rollback on property taxes in 4 years. 2021 was the last time we had a real millage rate rollback. The most recent millage rate rollback was only 0.06. That's nothing. That's nothing. You deserve better than that. And that's where I'm committed to you.
Thank you. Mr. Polacek.
Thank you for the question. As I said earlier, bottom line for me always is ensure citizens feel like their hard-earned tax dollars are getting a fair return on investment. As someone who has actual budget writing experience, I plan to bring that to City Council. Again, it's easy to make promises on cutting taxes. How you approach that is the challenge. What happened this summer, I actually went to the City Council hearings, and I actually went to the budget hearings. I saw this process, compared it to how we do it at the state. And I was there when at the 11th hour, there was a conversation of, well, hold up. Let's have this idea to cut taxes using the cash reserves. Common sense budgeting, it doesn't work that way. What happens when you have 11th hour decisions like that is that a new fire training station doesn't get funded in the budget for $500,000 cut to the budget. And when you do the math, I think that's on average savings of 80 cents per household per month across the city. Is that responsible? Where my opponent and I agree on, yes, I'm here to cut taxes. Yes, we're here to do a full rollback. How you do that and actually understanding the process, it's a 9-month process. At the state, it's a 12-month process. Literally, you pass the budget, you're already working on next fiscal year budget. And when it comes to working with the city manager, it's an essential part. They're here to collaborate. They work for the city council, and understanding how to look at different priorities of different departments. What are the needs of today? What were the needs of yesterday? Just because we funded something yesterday doesn't mean it needs to continue to be funded tomorrow. What I love about the city is they have a budgeting practice called zero-based budgeting. That means you can begin at zero at each program budget. Together with staff, you discuss the priorities, assess the needs of today, you look at any cost-saving measures and what programs have opportunities for improvement, and you decide what you continue to fund or not. You build your budget up from zero, and you meet the revenue estimate that you have forecasted for that year. That is how it works. Now, it's easy again to just talk about cutting taxes. We need to look at what are we going to supplement with that with. And the first thing I would look at is our contractual services. Did you know that the entire city budget, 19% of the budget is held up in contractual services? In my budget writing experience, is usually the first thing that you would assess to see does it make sense to renew this contract? Why do we have this contract? Is this contract new? Has it been here for 10 years? These are all variables and factors that you have, but you must have the appropriate experience to bring that to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor candidates, Mr. Brown.
Back in my third year as mayor, 20 years ago, CNN Money Magazine came into town on a surprise visit and said, we'd like you to give us a tour of your city. I showed them everything we had going on. Everything was in pristine condition. I asked staff to put some documentation together, and when I got back from giving them the tour, I sat them down at the conference table inside of City Hall. I said, what did you think about our performance here? Are we doing a good job? Does everything look good? Are we drawing the right industries? Are we supplying the right kind of jobs? And they said, fantastic! And then I took the budget sheet and I showed it to the other side of the table, and I said, and this is what we do it for. And they almost passed out. They had gone to every top-rated city in the United States, and nobody got more bang for the buck than what we did in Peachtree City. We were ranked the 8th best place to live in the United States of America. We're not on the list today. The budget is way bloated. All she says is, do whatever the city manager tells you to do. I've got a video coming out. She does it about 20 times. We'll just show it over and over and over again. Do whatever the city manager tells you to do. No, it should be do whatever the city council tells you to do. Now, Eric Imker, she has noted, and I have noted, Eric Imker is one of the premier budget hawks in Peachtree City. He's endorsing me in this election. I've got a 2-hour video with him on my website, and we go through a host of problems that the city is experiencing. And I agree with these guys. We've got stuff we've got to start doing. Question is, why aren't we doing it? Now, when you talk about working with the city manager, it would help if you had a city manager that lasted more than a year. We've gone through 4 in 4 years. That would be helpful. They all run for the hills. The 11th hour decision took 2 years. 2 years. Councilman Suzanne Brown brought up using some of the excess reserve funds that you pay too much in taxes because they underproject the revenue over and over and over again, and then use that as a slush fund to buy unbudgeted projects. Now, the problem with that is, she went out with the 2025 budget, the current budget that we're in right now, and she said, I would like these relevant budget items. Can you give me the data? Guess what the city manager told her? And I know because I did an open records request on the email. The city manager told her, I don't have time to answer that request. That's not an 11th hour decision. She was told she didn't have time to answer the request. She voted against that budget. For the same reason she's proposed in the 11th hour that you're talking about, she voted against the current budget. She's been doing this for 2 years. She has fought for the taxpayers over and over and over again. And they have put obstacle after obstacle in her way so they can spend more, bring in more employees, bloat the budget. Why aren't we doing the stuff that they're talking about?
Thank you. Ms. Learnard?
All right, 3 whole minutes on budget. Be still my heart. First, the city manager issue. When I came in new, John Rory was city manager, and he was at the end of a 5-year plan to retire. He went to back to South Carolina. So then we had an intentional interim. Right now we have Justin Strickland. He's permanent, and he's doing a wonderful job. That leaves the one that got away, Bob Curnow, a wonderful friend, a respected leader in City Hall. We were so delighted out of all the almost 100 applicants to welcome him to Peachtree City and encourage him to relocate his family from South Florida. Unfortunately, on February 12th, 2024, and again on February 19th, 2024, my opponent wrote a hit piece on him and put it in the Citizen and called him by name, stating that he had broken the law, called him out by name, stating that he had behaved inattentively in a city council meeting. 1 month later, Bob tendered his resignation. That's what we get from my opponent. Now I'll talk about budget. We have a responsible budget, and it's a little concerning to me that someone who used to be a mayor seems so little familiar with the process and with best practices. We have council direction to the city manager, who of course works for the body of 5. And based on those council directions and priorities, the city manager creates the budget. That's not my idea, that's in the ordinance. He brings it to us in public meetings, and we had public meetings on April 3rd, June 5th, a public hearing on July 10th, and we came in to pass that budget after all that public discussion, citizen input. 2 citizens showed up in the public hearing. You know you're doing okay when only 2 citizens show up and they both speak in favor of the budget. So here we came into our August 21st city council meeting, and at the last minute, couldn't pass a budget. We are down to 4, so a 2-2 vote does not pass the budget. Again, it's a little concerning to me that a former mayor is unfamiliar with how this process is supposed to work. So we have a very, very strong, fiscally conservative budget. On my watch, in March of 2023, we earned a Moody's AAA bond rating. 47% of our budget is public safety. 70% is the front 4 forward-facing agencies: police, fire, public works, and recreation. We passed a millage rate reduction in fiscal year 25 that we kept in fiscal year 26. And when my opponent was the mayor, he jacked up the millage rate 0.968 mils in only 4 years. That's on the Peachtree City website. All you have to do is look up the budget. He made a millage rate increase of 22.4%. We also passed, on my watch, House Bill. We opted into the new House Bill 581, state law, that will cap our assessment increases going forward. So this year, and this year alone, those increases will be capped at the CPI. Darn it, I have more to tell you, and it's all good news.
Thank you. Post 3, Mr. Campbell.
So I wanted some exposure to how this process worked with the budget. So I asked the city finance director to walk me through it, not to show me favoritism or anything like that, but just to help me understand the process. And from what I understand, it was a very collaborative, started back in April, but very collaborative. Something that I've done a ton of when I worked at Disney, especially when you're trying to build a budget for a multi-million-dollar project, a hotel, anything like that. You've got a ton of people in the room, all who have ideas about what we need to have and how we need to spend that money. And so you start with this big pot of ideas, and to get to that final point, you drill it down till you get to what that final budget looks like. Everybody has the ideas thrown in the pot. We all have to be adults and understand that not all of our ideas are going to get input into it. And when you're willing to hijack a city budget at the last minute to save 80 cents a day, it doesn't sound responsible to me. It doesn't sound like we're doing any favors to the residents of Peachtree City. You know, there's a lot of talk too about the millage rollback. And so just out of curiosity, I had to understand really what that impact is, because it seems to be a good talking point. And I'm not opposed to lowering taxes. I'm not opposed to massaging the budget, like the rest of them have said. I've not seen a budget that doesn't have opportunity. If you own a $500,000 home in Peachtree City, which is actually below the median, the 20.2% of your property taxes that come to Peachtree City would equal about $1,196. And if we did a full rollback of the millage rate, your property taxes, the 20.2% that goes to Peachtree City, would go to $1,135. That is, you're saving 17 cents a day for full millage rollback. So I'm not opposed to it, but I think we have to be honest and say, what is the real effect if we do that? I think we have more opportunity in looking at our budget and go through line by line and find those opportunities of what we need and what we want. But when you have a collaborative effort, you do not hijack it at the last minute and put people's jobs in jeopardy and put in jeopardy a thing where we've passed every budget in this city for 50 years and never had this happen. It seems irresponsible to me.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Holland.
Obviously, at the last minute, having had no results with the city council to get some budget cuts or rollback of the millage rate or reduction in the reserve fund, I had to do something. I had to do something to at least save the ability of us to work as a council. Unfortunately, we could not. I thought, honestly, that I would get everybody to say, yeah, let's do a millage rollback. It's not that much money. But instead, I got pushback after pushback after pushback. Why did you bring it up? Well, what everyone doesn't say is, in both the February and I believe it was April meetings, we had a retreat where we go away and we talk about these things. And I brought it up at each one of those. We need a rollback. We need to reduce the millage, not millage rate. We need to reduce the reserve funds. I got nowhere. I got 2 votes, and I lost every one of those votes. I just wasn't going to give up. And the only way to do that was to hold hostage, put people's feet to the fire, which is what I did in that late night in August. But guess what? On the 18th of September, just last week, we came up with a way to take care of all those budget items. We pulled a few items out of there. Turns out to be about $550,000 we saved, and that gave us an effective rollback. But what it did was, to me, what it did was something more important. It was looking at the efficiency of our budget. Do you remember the stuff out of the federal government was the DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. What we did was we looked and see if there was anything that was inefficient in our budget, and boy, did we find a lot of stuff. And we only took selected things out because those were, quite frankly, we didn't need them. We can share a fire tower with Fayette County at 8 miles away and wait till later to put our own fire tower in. So we pulled some of those things out, and guess what happened? On the 18th, it was a unanimous vote. We passed the budget. All it was taking a look at some efficiencies, taking a look at some things that we didn't need, and quite frankly, there's many more things in that budget that could have come out, but I wasn't ready for that type of a fight. I could only get 2 votes, and 2-2 ties don't go anywhere. So I encourage you, these Republicans that are on this dais up here, they need to be in power if we want to take a look at the DOGE and do more efficiency on this budget in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Everybody take a deep breath. We're on the closing stretch. Before we go into closing comments, personally, I just wanted to thank you all for getting into the arena. This is hard, but you do it because you have a heart for our city, and I appreciate that, and I know the Rotary Club of Peachtree City appreciates the fact that you have a heart for our city and you're willing to step in the arena to make our city a better place. So thank you all. Yes, you can clap. Now you can be quiet again. Gentlemen, this is 3 minutes. These will be the closing comments from each of the candidates. Once they're finished, our Rotary Club president will come up with some closing remarks. I'd like you all to stay in place until we get the candidates off stage, and then you can get up, and if you have those burning questions, they'll be in the back of the corner, and they'd love to hear from you. So closing comments. Once again, you'll have 3 minutes. We're going to start at post 3. Mr. Holland.
I keep drawing that short straw, don't I, to get going first, but I have no problem with that. Let me just remind you that I'm a fiscal conservative guy. I've been that from day one. I have looked at and beat up the budgets and the items. I'm always asking questions. I'm always tickled by the mayor sometimes. She goes, "You're going to have a lot of questions tonight, Clint." I said, "Yes, I am. That's just my way of running the business of the city." But remember that it was us conservatives that helped to cut this budget and to cut spending waste and to cut pet projects and have a lower balanced budget that still provides all the services that we need to make sure we got fire and police and public works and all of that. But here's the bottom line, guys. If you want a liberal, woke council, if you want higher taxes, if you want yes men on the council, if you want vague promises on critical city issues, and if you want Democrats on city council, don't vote for me, because that's not me. But if you want good stewardship of your tax dollars, you want reduced city property taxes, safe crossings at Highway 54 for our children going between Booth Middle School and the high school at McIntosh. If you want opening prayer within our agenda at every meeting, if you want to have public comment where you can talk about issues that are on your mind, if you want to have a city council or a citizen put something on the agenda, you can do that. And quite frankly, if you want to have proper engineering fix at 54 and 74 with an overpass going over 74, cleaning it up once and for all, which is what I proposed back in 2022, and they called me a crackpot back then. But guess what? GDOT loves that proposal now. And if you want that, then you're looking at the guy who will do that. That's what I will make happen. And I'd be honored to receive your votes and from the good residents of Peachtree City for 4 more years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell? No, please. Thank you.
When I think about Peachtree City's future, my vision is guided by 3 core principles: preserve, thrive, and connect. You preserve the village charm, the green space, and the safety of our neighborhoods. You thrive by supporting small businesses and smart growth. And you connect with open communication, transparency, and community input. To preserve our village charm, we need to look critically at our recent past, because it's clear that we've kind of lost our way. We need to move forward with a clear plan, and that means being more stringent and specific with our building and zoning codes. We need to replace suggestive language with specific requirements to ensure future growth aligns with our vision, our Peachtree City vision. I don't want to see more houses crammed into where trees once stood, where no more greenery exists, and we forgot about that village charm. I don't want to see that. Let's make sure that our master planning reflects the specific requirements needed to protect our community. Second, to thrive, we need to support the small and local businesses that are true centerpieces of our village. And I talked about that. That was the goal of our founding fathers, was we need to have these small villages in place to help with that. Finally, we need to connect. The City Council's role is to serve our residents, and that means being visible and transparent in our operations. The recent city survey that we referenced earlier made it clear that residents want a stronger voice. They want to be heard. With regular town halls and dedicated online forums, we must find more ways to listen to you. Now, with me, you're not going to get a chaos agent. You're going to get common sense, level-headed thinking. My focus will be on getting business done in council meetings and not grandstanding. Let's focus on smart solutions needed to preserve our home and build a strong future. Thank you to the Rotary Club for having us here tonight. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to be here to see us and talk to us. And may you all have a good night.
Thank you. We're moving on to post 4. Mr. Clifton?
Thank you again to the Rotary Club and PTC3 for having us tonight. In closing, I just want to reiterate what my policy goals are for Peachtree City. I want to restrict high-density housing. I want to alleviate traffic. I want to restrict zoning or rezoning of property and annexation of additional residential property. I want to cut the budget and reduce taxes, and I want a more open and transparent government. We didn't get to speak about all those issues tonight, but you can find out more about my campaign at ptcbackontrack.com. It is the most comprehensive campaign website that you will find with all the issues outlined there. They say imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And so 2 months after I announced my campaign, it was kind of a surprise to see my opponent have the exact same campaign platform. If you go and look at it, you will see that. I am flattered that he found all those issues that I outlined to be also top of the line issues for Peachtree City. It's because they are. I'm going to work to fix those. My grandmother, Catherine Lee, always told me, she said, James, actions speak louder than words. And so what you can do is you could judge us by the words we speak tonight, or you could judge us by the actions that we take in our daily life. I am a property tax specialist. I help people work to lower their property taxes on a daily basis. I've helped thousands of Georgians reduce their property taxes, hundreds here in our community in Peachtree City. That's what I do day in, day out. I uphold the law as an attorney. I'm licensed to practice in front of the United States Supreme Court because at age 31, I knew that it was important that we have somebody in our community that can take issues to the highest power in our country. That's what I do. Those are my actions. My opponent, if you look at his actions, you'll see that he calls himself a policy advisor. That's a fancy term for a lobbyist. He is with the State Ethics Commission. He has registered as a lobbyist. He has a lobbyist authorization form where he advocates for big businesses and special interests at the state capitol to bend the will of lawmakers in order to advocate for the big business that he represents. I don't think that that has a place on city council in Peachtree City. Big businesses and special interests have no place in Peachtree City Council. So that's why on November 4th, I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Polacek?
First off, thank you everyone for being here, and congrats to all the kids who have survived this evening. I thought about bringing ours, Aaron and I did, but they're absolute tyrants, so you can thank us for that later. I will address this. Yeah, I am a registered lobbyist after a career in public service. You know what I do that he's lying about and not being honest about is the fact that I work for Piedmont Healthcare. What do? Legally, I have to be registered. Why? So I can help expand residency slots in the state of Georgia. I'm a director of health policy and graduate medical education at Piedmont Healthcare. I'm proud to be able to have a seat at the table. Legally, you have to register so you can work with lawmakers. Special interest, I work for Piedmont Healthcare to help expand graduate medical education opportunities in Georgia, and I'm proud to do that. I want to leave you with this. I'm not running to be part of a political team or to push anyone else's agenda. I'm running because this is my hometown, a city that my family is now raising its third generation in, which is a trend I hope continues. I'm committed to preserving what makes this place so special, while ensuring it remains attractive for the next generation of families. My family immigrated here with almost nothing and made a life for themselves, right here in Peachtree City. It taught me the value of freedom, responsibility, and community, values that are a foundation to my campaign and will be the foundation to my time on City Council. My professional experience has taught me how to be a responsible steward of your tax dollars and focus government on the basics that really matter: safe neighborhoods, well-maintained paths and roads, and protecting our high quality of life, such as our parks and playgrounds here in Peachtree City. Our late Senator Johnny Isakson once said, "You're either a friend or a future friend. Sure, you'll be my constituents, but first, you're my neighbors and my friends." That's always been my approach to tough policy or budgetary issues, and will be my approach to City Council. We may disagree, but I'm committed to listening first. I prefer working alongside my neighbors and friends rather than against them. Aaron and I moved back here because Peachtree City, we truly believe, is the best place to raise a family, the best place to call home. I'm committed to bringing a steady, independent voice to City Council, one that listens, respects different viewpoints, and makes decisions based on facts and what's best for our community. I believe the future of our city needs common sense, responsible leadership, and a focus on working together. And it's no secret that my opponent has aligned himself with someone else. At first, I kind of felt left out of the party, but I'm actually proud to stand on my own 2 feet. I will always put the people of Peachtree City first and not be a rubber stamp. I will work every day to keep our city the best and safest place to live, work, and raise a family, and I hope to earn your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Our mayoral candidates, Mr. Brown.
You know, when she was talking about the taxes when I was the mayor the last time, that one of the handicaps when you're entering elected office is your first year in office, you're working off your predecessor's budget. My predecessor, Mr. Lennox, unfortunately added about a dozen new employees, gave an across-the-board pay raise, and rolled the millage rate back. That followed the 9/11 incident, which I came in 3 months after 9/11 and sales tax plummeted. I cut things like there was no tomorrow, but I kept the pay raises, which the city manager said we needed to rip them out. I kept them because they hadn't been given one in about a decade. By the time I finished, we had the city's first AAA bond rating, and we were ranked as one of the top places to live in the United States of America. When I took over at the County Board of Commissioners, I was following the Great Recession. They hadn't done any maintenance on anything in about 6 years. By the time we finished, in about 4 years' time, they had their first AAA bond rating in the history of Fayette County. If you want to get something done, give it to somebody who knows how to do it. Now, one of the things that puzzles me is I hear the word conservative being used a lot, and you're going to see the word conservative used on campaign literature. What does that mean? Does conservative mean I'm going to raise taxes and fees every year? I don't think so. But if you look, Kim was showing up to Republican events and using the word conservative, all the Republican-style buzzwords. And we looked at her campaign contributions, and she's sending campaign contributions to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Stacey Abrams PAC, Ossoff, Warnock, the whole bunch. That's not conservative. And it's easy. If that's her ideology, she should stand on that. If you're a big government person who likes to tax and spend, which is where her money's going to those candidates, and that's their prerogative. They should spend the money however they see fit, but at least be honest about it. Don't come to the group of Republicans and to the conservative population that we have and say, I'm a conservative, because it's not true. And when she uses the word, we're at build out. You know what build out equals over the last 12 years? Build out equals we've given it away. All of the future tax offsets that should have been corporate and light industrial projects up that McDuff Parkway, we gave it away. If you're in your 30s or your 20s and you're living here with a young family, God bless you. You've got a rough road ahead, because we've got to figure out how to offset your residential taxes like mine was 30 years ago when we had industry coming in and we had a place to put them.
Thank you, sir. And Ms. Learnard.
Thank you. I didn't get a chance to tell you earlier that we also this year passed a property tax break for low-income seniors. It will be on the ballot as a referendum when you go to vote November 4th. I cannot tell you how to vote, but it's a property tax break for low-income seniors. We did a survey. We had hired a survey company to conduct a citizen satisfaction survey at the end of July. And it turns out that 87% of Peachtree City residents express satisfaction with the Peachtree City quality of life. 87%. That's 12% higher than cohort cities across the entire country. That is so high. We're never done, but that is a strong indicator that what we're doing is right, and it's supportive of our families and our businesses. I think you can already see tonight that this election for mayor is about the difference between negative and positive. I'm a very positive person and a positive leader. My opponent would love to bring in negative, divisive, partisan national politics to Peachtree City, and I just don't. I'm busy making Peachtree City a better place. I think you can see why. When my opponent ran for re-election in 2005, 70% of the voters voted him out. It was the largest election landslide defeat in city history, and now tonight you saw why. We gave him every opportunity to tell us what his vision is for the future. What would he do? It's easy to say bloated budget, but he didn't tell you what he would cut. Under my leadership, our citizen engagement has skyrocketed. We started the Slice weekly e-newsletter that has a subscriber list of more than 24,000 of you. Thank you. Together, we are doing amazing things. We started Slice of Life, a road show of sorts where our city staff goes out to every village once a year to meet with citizens in your own neighborhoods and hear your local concerns. We've started brand new recreation advisory group, a brand new transportation advisory group. On my watch, we became recertified as a runner-friendly community, as a bike-friendly community, and we were named one of America's best small towns to raise a family. We did that together. Together, we've made a safer city. We've made a more beautiful city. And together, we will continue the vision started by Joel Cowan. It is empowering me to keep doing all that we're doing together, Peachtree City. Thank you so much. Please take a look at my website, kimlearnardformayor.com. Let's keep the momentum. And thank you so very much.
Thank you. Wait. I want to be fair. Now we can clap for all of them. All right. And the president of the Rotary Club of Peachtree City, a great story. As a speaker, you always want to make sure you can pronounce names correctly. I said, Chavdar, how do you pronounce your last name? And he told me. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Chavdar.
And because Clint was speaking about the accent, what about this accent, man? Since you didn't allow to get any applauses, I'm just going to round of applause for Will Garner, please, guys. So, as we close tonight's forum, I want to begin with gratitude. Thank you for all the candidates, for sharing your time, your ideas, and the vision for Peachtree City. It takes real courage to step forward and put yourself before the community, and we admire your willingness to serve. Already said thank you to Will Garner. I'm going to say it again. You did a fantastic job, Will. Thank you as well to our host, Pastor George Dillard, for welcoming us into this space, and to all my fellow Rotary members who worked so hard to make this event possible. And most importantly, thank you to all of the audience, our neighbors, and fellow citizens for taking the time to listen, to engage, and participate in this process. Tonight reminded us that whether through elected office or through the service organizations like Rotary, the goal is the same: to put service above self and to work for the good of the community. Let us leave here encouraged not only by the leadership offered on this stage, but also by the commitment of our citizens about the future of Peachtree City. Thank you all, and have a safe night.
Well done. Yep, y'all good.
What about this side?
You know what? Best forum I've ever seen. Ms. Holland, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Very well.
Thanks for a good night.
All right. I'm not joking. Best forum.
Hey, you gotta take your seat. Yeah, the format was by far. I told Jay I'm sorry for the sweaty hands.